Saturday morning, I was sipping coffee on my porch when 3 black SUVs with government plates rolled into the cul-de-sac. All their doors swung open at once, agents in dark suits stepping out like something from a movie. But their eyes weren't on me. They were locked on Karen Whitfield, our HOA president, who was standing across the street clutching pruning shears, her knees shaking next to the coaxial cable she had just sliced from my house. That's when I realized my quiet hobby had turned into a federal case and Karen had finally cut herself into trouble she couldn't control. My name's Mike Turner. I'm 38, an engineer, and a ham radio operator. It's not just a pastime for me. I'm part of the Storm Spotter network. I help relay emergency calls during tornado season, and I've got a federal license for my setup. But in Karen's world, none of that mattered. She ran our Maple Ridge HOA like a monarch. Every mailbox, every fence height, every trash can left out an extra hour had to bow to her rules. The antenna in my backyard. To her, it was an eyesore, an affront to her imaginary crown. So she did what only Karen would do. She grabbed pruning shears, marched into my yard, and severed a federally protected communication line as if it was a rose bush. I caught her red-handed. She snapped the shears shut and declared, "This neighborhood has rules and I enforce them." I told her calmly, "That cable is under federal jurisdiction. Cutting it is a crime." Her lips twitched, but she didn't back down. Instead, she strutted away like she'd won a battle. Within hours, she was bragging at the pool, telling neighbors she had saved them from my spy cables. Jeff, my neighbor, came by, shaking his head. "She's acting like you were about to report us to China," he laughed. I didn't laugh, because I knew Karen hadn't just messed with me. She'd invited in the feds. And sure enough, 2 days later, the SUVs showed up. The agents inspected my rig, nodded at my paperwork, and then turned to Karen. "Ma'am, did you tamper with this man's communication lines?" they asked. She blustered, chin high, insisting the HOA rules trumped federal law. The agent's reply was ice cold. "These are federally licensed communication lines. Cutting them is a violation of federal law." They didn't arrest her, not yet, but the look on her face, neighbors recording every second, that was the first crack in her armor. But Karen wasn't someone who learned from cracks. She treated that warning like a challenge. The very next week, I found a packet on my porch stamped with the HOA seal and her looping signature, an emergency safety directive, ordering me to dismantle my antenna within 7 days. I laughed out loud. Federal agents had just told her it was legal, yet she doubled down. Then came the lies in the group chat. My radio waves were interfering with garage doors, pacemakers, even Alexa devices. Neighbors started chiming in about strange headaches. I stayed quiet online, but inside, doubt gnawed at me. There was a night I sat staring at my silent rig, wondering if maybe I was wrong. Maybe this fight wasn't worth it. Maybe I should just take the whole thing down and end it. I imagined Karen smirking as I hauled the antenna away, her victory parade through the neighborhood. And for a moment, I felt like giving in. But then I remembered why I started this hobby, because during storms, when cell towers die, people depend on voices like mine carrying through the static. This wasn't just pride, this was service. That thought snapped me back. I wasn't the villain here. She was. Karen's obsession spiraled. One evening, my rig lit up with bursts of static, unnatural, deliberate. I recognized it jamming. Sure enough, agents returned carrying a spectrum analyzer. They traced the interference right to her house. Standing in front of her porch, they warned her, "This is a federal offense. Do it again, and you'll be charged." For once, she was speechless. But silence wasn't surrender. Days later, I woke to hammering outside. Karen and 2 board members were planting a massive plywood sign right into my lawn. "Danger, illegal radio station, hazard to health." I didn't rip it down. I just took pictures, time-stamped, geotagged. My evidence folder was growing like a shrine to her entitlement. Then came flyers stuffed in my mailbox about radio waves causing brain cancer. At the next HOA meeting, she strutted to the front, waving photos of my cables. "This is what's endangering your children," she shrieked, pointing at me. I stood calm and deliberate. "Everything she said is false. My station is federally licensed. The only illegal equipment was found in her house. Then I played the video of her trespassing in my yard, muttering about official documentation. The silence was thick enough to taste. Karen didn't crumble. She never did. She screeched that my video was doctored, but some neighbors were starting to roll their eyes. The board stayed cowardly, refusing to shut her down. That night, my entire shack went dark. The lock on my breaker box had been pried off the switch thrown. That was the final line. I called the sheriff, filed a criminal complaint, handed over my footage. Now the system wasn't just watching, it was building a case. Then came the night of the break-in. My security cameras caught 3 hooded figures slipping over my back fence, lugging a duffel bag. They crouched at the base of my antenna, pulling out cutters, even a can of accelerant. My heart hammered, but I didn't confront them. I called 911 and my FCC contact. Within minutes, unmarked cars and SUVs flooded the street. Agents swarmed, tackling the intruders before they could scatter. When they pulled the hoods back, my stomach flipped. 2 men I didn't recognize, and Karen. Her eyes darted wildly, her chin still tilted in that familiar HOA president defiance. "I'm protecting this community," she screamed as they read her rights. But no one was listening. Neighbors poured out of their houses, phones raised recording as Karen was escorted into the SUV. Jeff leaned toward me and whispered, "That's it. She's done." Maybe. But I just stood there on my porch, coffee still warm in my hand, watching her disappear down the street. The Queen of Maple Ridge had finally lost her crown, not because I fought harder, but because she destroyed herself. The lesson entitlement will always cut its own cables.